It is day number 13 in the month of August 2023. Good evening and welcome to Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Iron Port is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, GOIL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. The show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA, and our media partner on this journey of a lifetime is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. Now, if you want to have a grasp of all that transpired on the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to see all that happened here on the show tonight. We are streaming live on our social media pages. On Facebook, we are live at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are live at Port of Tema. And on YouTube, we are streaming live at Iron Port Ghana. Iron Port Ghana. Indeed, we shall be getting interactive with you, and so all you have to do is send us your messages and comments ahead via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 055-019-177. 055-019-177. And at the appropriate time, when I pick signals from the production team that the time is right, we shall be activating the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we will continue with the show. Please.
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I come.
Shut up!
Mame, boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Fill up with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from GOIL.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for mommy.
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for GOIL Super XP Ron 95. GOIL, good energy. GOIL is good energy. Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas, covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance. Oh, Ajima, tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects, and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246 319 or 0243 690 492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful set delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. It's now time for us to take a look at happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. And in the course of the week, the Ghana Revenue Authority had cause to assemble some senior media practitioners and editors to educate them on some new tax policies that they are rolling out in connection with gaming and lottery operations in our country. And during that particular session, some other very important announcements were made. We bring you some stories from that encounter.
To widen the domestic tax net, some amendments have been made to the Income Tax Act 2023, Act 1094, with implications for the gaming industry. From the 15th of August, a 10% withholding tax would be exacted from gross winnings from all betting, gaming, lotto, and other games of chance. This means bettors will now pay a withholding tax of 10% of the profits accrued on wins, and this replaces the existing 15% VAT that is charged.
So if you played with 100 Ghana, you won, then you are giving 200 as your win. The tax will not be on 200, it will only be on the profit. So because the tax is on the return on the...
In addition to this, operators of gaming enterprises will pay a 20% tax on gross gaming revenue to replace corporate income tax. Ahead of implementation, the Ghana Revenue Authority has engaged news editors to help them understand the rationale behind the policy. According to the Commissioner for the Domestic Tax Revenue Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Edward Jambra, a sum of 1.2 billion Ghana cedis is expected to be collected during the initial stages of implementation. He warned that gaming enterprises that do not comply with the new rules will be subject to penalties, including having their licenses revoked.
And let me say that as you have been appointed as a withholding agent, the obligation is on you to withhold. And if you fail to do that, with the interaction that we've had with you and the support of the Gaming Commission, you can be assured that your license will be withdrawn.
An additional revenue of 455 million Ghana cedis is expected to be made from excise duties following an amendment to the fare schedule of the Excise Duty Act 2014, Act 878. This is because there has been an introduction of the hybrid method of duty calculation on tobacco and other related products viewed as generally unhealthy.
If you talk to the health authorities, they will tell you they are paying. If you talk to other researchers, they are also complaining that something must be done. Something must be done. And this area has been left out for long, and the time is appropriate, even at the ECOWAS level. The health taxes must be given immediate attention.
Basically, what this means is that e-cigarettes, sugar-sweetened beverages, carbonated soft drinks, spirits, and wines will cost more when imported. This revelation was made during the same engagement with the news editors. Nelson Brightachu is the head of compliance at the Excise Unit of the Ghana Revenue Authority. He said the development is in line with ECOWAS recommendations for the treatment of such products.
The ECOWAS directive on the harmonization of excise duty on tobacco products directs that excise duty on tobacco products must include ad valorem and specific duty rates. The ad valorem rate is required to be 50% or more on the value, while the specific tax rate is required to be a minimum equivalent of 2 cents per stick in the case of cigarette, cigarillo, and the CD equivalent of $20 per net kilo for all other tobacco products.
In a related development, to bring about sanity and fairness in the local textile industry, an excise tax stamp on textiles has been introduced by the Ghana Revenue Authority. The excise tax stamp, specially designed with digital and other security features, will be affixed on textile products to indicate taxes and duties have been paid or will be paid. The textile tax stamp will control the importation and local manufacture of textile for revenue purposes, check tax evasion through smuggling, as well as illicit trading and counterfeit.
You know, imported products also pay, they are supposed to pay import duty, import VAT, import national health insurance levy, and those kind of things. Currently, those that are smuggled, they don't pay, while the local industries are paying what they are expected to pay. That's making their products more expensive. So by introducing this policy, as Nelson explained, to make sure that everybody is paying what they are, everyone is paying what is he or she is expected to pay, it will level the playing field for everybody.
According to the GRA, sanctions will be imposed on non-compliant traders.
All right, so those were happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week in our country. We're now going international to see what's happening on the global stage.
The world's largest LNG bunkering ship, Haiyang-Shiyu 301, also known as Offshore Oil 301, has completed its first ship-to-ship bunkering operation involving a very large crude carrier at the anchorage of Guangzhou Port. The 8.5 operation saw Offshore Oil 301 provide the 320,000-ton dual-fuel tanker Maran Dion with approximately 6,500 cubic meters of liquefied natural gas. The operation was the inaugural ship-to-ship LNG bunkering carried out by Pavilion Energy and CNOOC Gas and Power Group. With efforts continuing to build out the infrastructure for different forms of LNG bunkering, renewable energy company Expo announced plans to launch a first-of-its-kind ship-to-truck bunkering capability based in Italy, as well as ship-to-ship LNG bunkering. The company will build a new bunker vessel due to enter service in 2025 based in the Gulf of Naples and the adjoining Tyrrhenian Sea region. Expo, based in Switzerland, has entered into a long-term agreement with Italy's Gas and Heat and the San Giorgio del Porto shipyard for the new small-scale LNG vessel and bunkering capability. The flagship project was set up in collaboration with the Italian government's Infrastructure and Transport Ministry, MIT, and the Central Tyrrhenian Sea and Naples Port Authorities.
Welcome back. It's now time for us to take a look at the word of the day. And remember, the word or phrase of the day has been fashioned to bring you up to speed with the terminologies and jargons we use in the shipping industry. Today's word is port of registry. Port of registry.
Port of registry refers to a place where a ship is registered with the authorities, thereby establishing its nationality.
All right, welcome back. We are now zooming into our discussion proper tonight, and tonight we are taking a look at the agricultural input supply sector and some of the challenges they face when they are importing into our country and what the way forward would be for this particular space. Now, players and practitioners in this particular space have grappled with a lot of issues in the past, and they are still grappling with these same issues and have made efforts to get these issues addressed, but to no avail. And so tonight we want to examine what the challenges are when they are importing these agro inputs into the country. We say we are an agri-based country. We depend heavily on agriculture in this country, and so it makes sense that we can have players in this particular space who bring in inputs to supply to our farmers. And they should do so conveniently so that our farmers can have the inputs that they require to do farming the way they should do it, commercially, so to speak. And so we want to examine what the challenges are when they are importing these agricultural inputs and what we can do to support them, to help them to operate effectively and efficiently, and for some sanity to prevail in this particular space. And so it gives me pleasure tonight to introduce to you Mr. Rashad Kadri. Kadri Rashad, he is the Programs Manager for CropLife Ghana. Not his first time on the show. He's been here before. Good evening, Rashad, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Mona.
Absolutely. Good to
pleasure.
have you back.
Sure. The pleasure
Great.
is all mine.
Absolutely. And also in the studios with us is Mr. David Owari Ansong, who is Managing Director of Agrosciences, Rainbow Agrosciences Limited. Yes. Absolutely. Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Good evening.
We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So let me start with you, Rashad. If you can refresh our minds once again about what CropLife is about and what you're doing.
Thank you very much, Mona. Basically, CropLife is an organization that is affiliated to CropLife Africa, Middle East, and then CropLife International. And it is membership-driven. The membership-driven, we have membership who register to become CropLife Ghana members. Right. And our members are into the importation and distribution of crop protection products such as pesticides and fertilizers and other agricultural inputs in Ghana. And basically, as of now, we have about 23 member companies and still counting who bring in these
23 member companies,
yes,
okay.
Who bring in crop protection products and other agri inputs for the benefit of the teeming farmers in Ghana. And Rainbow Agri-Science is also a member of CropLife Ghana, I must say.
Okay. When you say crop protection products, what does that mean?
Yeah, so crop protection basically is pesticides, fertilizers that we use on our farms to reduce pest infestations and also disease control. So these are crop protection products.
And you say you have 23 member companies? All in Ghana?
All in Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you can brief us on, you made mention of the fact that you are in East Africa, West Africa?
Yes. So basically CropLife...
which countries? You can mention this.
So we are affiliated to CropLife Africa, Middle East. And with the Africa, Middle East, we have the West African region, where we have CropLife Ghana, CropLife Cote d'Ivoire, CropLife Cameroon.
Right.
Then in the Eastern Africa, we have CropLife Kenya, and then about 6 or 7 other CropLife countries in the Eastern Africa. Then in the Middle East as well. Then we have the mother body, which is CropLife International.
Okay.
Yes.
You all report to International?
Yes, which is headquartered in Belgium.
Belgium, okay.
Yes.
Wow, absolutely, great. Let me come to Mr. Ansong. Can you tell us about Rainbow Agrosciences Limited?
Yes, Rainbow Agrosciences.
You made mention of the fact that you're a member of
Yes, we are a member of CropLife. And we major in the importation of crop protection products. That's the pesticides, as he mentioned. And we've been in Ghana for the past 10 years.
Right.
And in Rainbow, we say it's all about growing with the farmers, providing them the best solutions so that they will be able to grow their crops well. And also the input dealers that we work with, we make sure that their business also grows. So Rainbow is contributing to food security in this country by bringing in the best agrochemical products that the farmers use.
Now, you are those that import the goods into the country. Tell us, what are some of the issues that you're having?
Well, the issues are quite a lot. You know, let me give a bit of background. For the population of Ghana is increasing, and we cannot feed the population with subsistence farming. Definitely, we have to do bigger farms.
Absolutely.
And when you do that, you need agri inputs, both the crop protection and machinery. Yes. So we come in to import these items. Most of the agri inputs are all imported. And once you do import, there are a lot of problems that we face. Number one being the exchange rate issues, which, you know,
currency fluctuations.
Currency. From last year, it was worse, and it's impacted so much. A lot of our members made exchange rate losses. And also issues of interest rates. You know, if you want to go to the bank to get a loan to do a business in Ghana, you know where the rates are. Right now, I think it's about 30 to 40%. I don't know. This is extremely high. And most of the banks see agri as a high-risk area. So when you go, it's difficult for them to lend to you once you are going into agriculture because they see that it's quite risky. And also cost of doing business in Ghana is also an issue for us. You know where inflation is as at now, over 50%, I guess. So, you know, these macroeconomic issues are seriously impacting on our business. Yeah.
All right. So you made mention of currency fluctuations, interest rates, which is between 30 and 40%. Cost of doing business also very high. Those are the three cardinal points that you have mentioned. We have a bank like the Agricultural Development Bank that is specifically, that's even as the name, you know.
Agri.
Yeah, I mean, so how come that we have a bank dedicated to the agri sector and you have issues, you know, with all these?
Well, I believe, I can't speak for ADB, but I believe that they will say they are doing their best. But what we can do is to check their portfolio, how much of them loans that they have given out goes into agri. And I'm sure that when we check, probably they are giving more to other businesses than agri, because you know they are there to make money, and I believe that they see, just like the other commercial banks, will see agri as a risky area, and you know, to protect their business, they may not be giving out a lot of loans to farmers or to people who are in the agri space.
All right, I'll come back to you so that we'll go into specifics in terms of your imports. What some of the things are, some of the challenges are that you grapple with. But last time you were here, Rashad, we took a look at some of the challenges you had, and you gave us a scenario where you had written to the Ministry of Finance, and there was this back and forth and things. Can you bring us up to speed with what has come out of it?
Thank you very much, Mona. As Mr. David said, already the cost of bringing out these inputs from the ports are already very high. And last year, somewhere September 12th, Government of Ghana passed the Tax Exemptions Act 2022, Act 1083. And this act did not, it excluded agri-inputs. What it meant was that if you were bringing in any agri-inputs into the country, that the Tax Exemptions Act didn't take care of it. So you would have to apply to the Ministry of Finance to grant you the tax exemptions. That was a challenge then. And our companies since then applied through the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to the Ministry of Finance to grant these tax exemptions for them to be able to clear off these goods from the ports. And I can tell you that from January till now, none of our member companies have been able to get any of these tax exemptions. And it has ballooned the cost of the inputs that they have brought in, because Mr. David was saying he has some figures that he would have to share with you. We engaged the Ministry of Agriculture in that respect, because that same tax exemption gives the Ministry of Agri the chance to grant industry-specific taxes, exemptions. For instance, the Ministry of Agri can grant tax exemptions to the Ministry of Finance can grant tax exemptions to the Ministry of Agri if they put into writing. So we pushed through the Ministry of Agri to write to the Ministry of Finance to grant those tax exemptions, and till date, none of our companies have been able. Since the beginning of January, because the letter was written to the Ministry of Agri around 10th January, if I recall. Ministry of Finance, yes, around 10th January 2023. And as it stands now, the tax exemptions haven't been granted.
Have you made some follow-ups?
Yes, we've made follow-ups with the Ministry of Agri, and then we've written petitions to the Ministry of Finance as well. But then the major challenge too was that whilst we were waiting for these tax exemptions to be granted, the goods were locked up at the ports, and they were attracting extra cost in the form of demurrages.
Right.
Yes. So at the point where we realized that we were not getting the tax exemptions anytime soon, most of our member companies went ahead to clear their goods, and it has ballooned the prices of these inputs. And it's going to have a dire impact on our food security as we speak right now.
All right, so what's the current state, and where have you reached in terms of your quest to get the Ministries of Finance and Agri to yield to this particular? Because if from January through to date, you haven't been able to secure even one tax exemption for one company under your belt, then it gives cause for worry.
Definitely. And when we started engaging the Ministry of Agric, that was the time there was a gap between Dr. Akoto's resignation and then Dr. Brian Champon's coming into. So there was a gap.
Right.
And then we had to wait for a substantive minister to be nominated and approved.
Right.
Then we can see through the tax exemptions together with that Dr. Champon. So we met with the Minister of Agric, with his deputies, and then even with the chairman for the Parliamentary Select Committee on Food and Agriculture in Parliament. And then we were given assurance during our meetings that these tax exemptions will be granted, and that when the Exemptions Act was passed, it was purely an oversight, which
so your prayer was that it will be captured.
Yes.
So that it will be passed as well.
Yes.
But
it wasn't
happen.
captured.
Yes.
But the same act gives the prerogative to the Ministry of Finance to grant industry-specific exemptions to certain ministries, sector ministries, like the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Right.
So if the Ministry of Agriculture puts into writing demanding or requesting for tax exemptions for some category of agri-inputs, the Ministry of Finance would go ahead to grant those exemptions. Right. So this letter was written by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to the Ministry of Finance, requesting for these tax exemptions to be granted for agri-inputs. And that is what we are still chasing till date.
All right, so Mr. Anson gave me some documents here. These are bill of entries, two of them, and they were for the same consignments last year and this year. And if you take a look at the total amount paid for last year, it sums up to 35,508.36 Ghana cedis. Yes. And that for 2023. Okay, this one was 27th June 2022.
Yes.
And then this one, the date is 17th May 2023. And the amount is 104,108.56 cedis. Yes. So it shot up from 35,000 in 2022 to 104,000
for the same
in 2023.
Yeah.
Tell us what do you think the issue is?
So what I gave you, the 2022 one is just for 1,700 cartons, and we're paying the 35. And the 20
cartons of what?
Of product we call glyphosate.
Yes.
And 2023, you know, you can check the quantity there.
Yes.
The quantity in 2023 is even lesser than the 2022. But we are paying ×3, you know, duty.
Yes.
You know, and it's because, and if you check, I have underlined certain things.
Yes.
Because of the removal of the exemption for import duty.
Yes.
That one we are paying. And then special import levy was also an exempted item last year. We are also paying. Processing fee.
You mean we are paying it now?
Yeah.
We are paying it now. And then IRS deposit. So in total, this sums up to about 10% of
So you have the
CIF.
special import levy, which you were not paying.
We're not paying.
But because they've scrapped the exemptions, you now pay
We are
that.
now paying that.
And you also have the IRS deposit. What is that?
You know, that's GRA. When you are clearing from the port, you would pay a 1% on the CIF.
Yes, cost, insurance, and freight value.
Yes, as deposit for your income tax.
Yes.
Yes. But last year, because of the exemption regime, we were not paying that amount.
Right.
But after the removal, all the 4 items that I've just listed, we are paying now. And then one other issue which is significant, I mentioned the exchange rate. You see that last year the exchange rate was around 7. And if you check on the declaration there, it's now about almost 11 10 point something.
Yes.
So all these things coming together, you know, it's now making
10.9,
yes, as pay ×3 of what we were paying last year. So it means that if
last year was 7.2.
Yes.
Yes.
Assuming for the purpose of this discussion, if your budget for clearing last year was like 1 million cedis, then it means that you have to have 3 million to be able to do the same volume of business in 2023. And this is extremely high. You know, if you don't have that kind of money, then it means that you have to go to the bank to borrow.
Yes.
And we've already discussed issues about the interest rates at the bank. There is no way you'll be able to make any profit in this kind of condition. And it's also important because it's affecting the cost of inputs. So farmers are now buying their inputs at a very high price.
Yes.
And then cost of production for the farmers have also gone up. And because of that, some of them will cut down on the size of their land, because if they don't have the money to do, say, a 10-acre, they would have to reduce it to 5 acres, right? And apart from that, you know, they are also business people.
Yes.
Once cost of production for them has gone up, they would have to transfer it to the consumer.
Yes.
And recently, Statistical Service brought out the inflation for July, and we saw where food inflation is, over 50%. So these things, government should be minded that it is causing food prices to go up. We are business people. Once our costs have gone up so much, we will transfer it to the farmer, and then the farmer will now transfer it to the consumer. And, you know, with the economic situation we are facing, if food prices are also extremely high, it brings too much hardship to the people.
Right.
So it's very important that government really look this exemption issue and try as much as possible to help the industry so that at least farmers will have their inputs at reasonable prices.
Rashad, how would you describe the agro inputs supply space? How have we fared as a country in times past? And if you compare that to now, what would be your assessment?
Okay, thank you. If you do a thorough assessment of the agro input space, it is a blend of multinationals and then local industries together. But the multinationals have a bigger market share compared to the local investors. And as Mr. David was saying, before you can bring in these inputs, you need some amount of financial wherewithal before you can bring them in. And if in the past the grounds has been leveled up for both the multinationals and then the locals, and we've had a number of locals into venturing into the importation and distribution of agri inputs. And the thing is, when they bring in these inputs and then they make sales, a chunk of the monies are retained in the country, which is invested in other portfolios. They have a lot of employment, and it has helped the youth in gaining employment in one way or the other. But this situation, as we speak now, is going to distort the ground because you would need extra money, like Mr. David said. Hitherto, if you used 1 million to bring in one container, now you need 3 times the same amount to bring in the same container. So it's going to be a bantam of who has the financial muscle. And you know, most definitely, these multinationals are going to outweigh the local investors, and it's going to distort the market as well. And just to add to what Mr. David was saying, last week, the World Bank released a report that indicated that Ghana was ranked among the 10 West countries with higher food inflation. And this can be attributed to the high cost of inputs, because once the cost of inputs are high, it's definitely going to translate into the food prices. And we consumers, ordinary consumers, you and I, are going to feel it as well. Another angle that we should look at this issue of the tax exemptions is our industry, like any other industry, has its own challenges. And one of the major challenges has been the issue of counterfeits and illegal crop protection products and like pesticides and fertilizers. If these exemptions are not granted and input prices keep soaring, farmers would have no choice but to look for cheaper sources of inputs, which might just be counterfeit or illegal pesticides and fertilizers or other agri inputs in the markets. And this is not going to go well for the food security that we are all been working towards.
All right, so he mentioned multinationals and local companies like yours. And automatically, I know this is something that happens in every sector. For instance, in the freight forwarding firm, we have these, multinationals taking over that space.
Yes.
Even though the law stipulates that the job should be reserved for the locals. Your space, I don't know what it is, but tell us about the competition in your space.
Well, like he said, there are a number of multinational companies and also local players. For example, my company, Rainbow Agro-Sciences, it's a joint venture between myself and foreign entities, but there are 100% foreign-owned companies who are operating in the space.
Right.
We also have some very good local companies. But I was checking the data for January to date, and I've seen that the share of local companies are coming down. And the reason is that, they have to get extra capital now to work, which they don't have. So if last year he was importing 100 containers, this year that company needs to cut down and import, let's say, 60 or 50 to be able to have the money required to clear from the port.
Yes.
So their share of the market is coming down. And if this thing continues for next year and the years after, definitely about 80% of our market is going to be controlled by the multinational companies and foreign-owned companies. And as a country, we don't want to do that. We need the locals to also control certain industries so that, like he said, the money can stay within the country and, pressure on even the hard currency like the dollar will reduce. But if we have 90% of this agricultural input space being controlled by multinationals, at the end of the year, when they declare the dividends, of course they have to repatriate it to their mother
principals.
companies. Yes, their principals. So it's something that the government also needs to draw its attention to this situation and try to help the local businesses so that at least for the agri space, we should own it rather than allowing foreign entities to control the space.
Are you aware of what the position of the law is in terms of ownership of businesses in your space?
Yes, the GIPC law mandates that once you are a foreign entity is able to invest $1 million, you are allowed to trade. So the law is there. So once
it doesn't protect the locals.
Yes, no. Once they are able to invest that kind of money, they are allowed to operate.
To go.
And in this day and age, $1 million, once the opportunity is there, definitely they will invest and, jump in and do their business.
Right. So these are challenges that your company, your group has been facing over the years and all that. And you've done so many things to get these issues ameliorated and addressed. I just want to find out, is it a case where you are not pressing the right buttons or pulling the right strings, or what do you think is the challenge?
That is the question we are also asking ourselves, because we've engaged all the relevant stakeholders and authorities as well in this matter. We've been given assurances upon assurances that this will be done. Even at a point we're given a 1-week ultimatum that the exemptions will be granted. And our companies left a chunk of their import or stocks at the ports with the perception that the exemption should be given, only for us to come back to the table to be denied the same exemptions. And what is even baffling me is the extra cost that comes with it at the ports, in terms of damages. And the monies and then the cost involved, or what they have put into it at the ports is very staggering. It's very staggering. Like Mr. David said, we have another company here which last year with the exemptions, with 6 containers paid close to 95,000 Ghana cedis.
With exemptions?
With the exemptions. This year with that exemptions, the same 6 containers, they are paying close to 350,000 cedis plus.
That's from 95K with exemptions.
With exemptions.
To 350K.
Yes.
Wow.
6 containers. And it will only tell you, and this one is even less the demurrages that they've even paid at the ports. So it will tell you how cost of inputs are going to go high this season. And it's going to trickle down to the farmer and then the consumer as well. So we will continue engaging the stakeholders. As for the Ministry of Agriculture, I mean, they are our friends now because we are almost always at their store doorstep, yes. But the tricky aspect of it is that because it is an issue of law, the Exemptions Act, as I mentioned, was passed just last year.
Right.
I think the way forward now is to petition Parliament to see how best they can include agri-inputs categorically into the Exemptions Act,
right,
so that we don't have to come back every year to seek for exemptions or to make the issue of exemptions a prerogative of a sector minister,
right,
which is not going to speak well for the food security condition of Ghana.
All right, so you mentioned extra costs at the port. Can you tell us, you mentioned demurrage and all that. Tell us some of the extra costs you incur at the port.
So the extra costs that we incur, apart from this, the fact that we are, the exemptions are over and we are paying full duty. We also have the challenge that the GRA's reference price list that they use to come up with the evaluation for these products are also very high. You know, our products are such that the prices are not stable. They go up and they come down. Last year, for instance, we were buying our products at all-time high prices. Fortunately, this year, the prices have slumped, and we expected that we will enjoy...
The price list will be reviewed downward.
But the reference price list that GRA is using is higher than the actual prices we are buying these items. So, for example, you buy a weedicide at current rate around $1.8, but their reference price is like 2.7. Okay. So, and then they will charge the duty on the 2.7, not your actual
1.8.
Yes. And it's making...
Have you caused to run them through, because you have evidence that this is 1.8?
Personally, I have been to customs with evidence, the custom declaration from the port of loading. I've showed it to them that, look, this is how much we are getting it. But they will say that this is what has been given to us to use. Okay. So they will not shy away from using what has been given. They said that is the benchmark, and that is what they are using. But we've provided evidence because they give room for you to appeal.
Yes.
So we use the appeal process. We push these things in, but still...
You send the evidence and...
No, it will still come out. But I know that they are under pressure to raise revenue and all that. But, you know, we also have to be considerate. When prices went up, we paid at those high prices. Now it has come down. At least we should also benefit from that.
So you're talking about balancing trade facilitation and revenue mobilization.
Exactly. The other thing which has also come up recently is the increase in tariffs at the port now. You know, MPS has increased their tariffs, same too for GAPOA. And you also, the shipping line charges, always dollar denominated. So when exchange rate goes up, you know where it also goes. So these are the extra costs that also...
Yes, I think like you mentioned, what you are grappling with, the exchange rate fluctuations, the others, is the same thing that you're also grappling with. And so it's the same thing. Yeah. So the story is no different for anyone else. And so I think that accounts for that, because I am privy to a press release that was issued by GPHA with respect to the increase in tariffs. And that was those are the reasons they gave, you know, and so it makes sense, don't you think?
Well, since GPHA is a Ghanaian entity, so they have to use the local currency in their operations.
All right. So let me come to Rashad. When the exemptions were going to be taken off, did you make a case as to why they shouldn't touch those in your space? What were the reasons they adduced for removing the exemptions, if you know?
So, as I mentioned, the Exemptions Act was passed last year in September. That's the Act 1083. And what happened was that prior to the Exemptions Act being passed, initially companies would have to put into writing to the Ministry of Agric, and then the Ministry of Agric will also seek for the exemptions from the Ministry of Finance. Now, when we engaged, they said it passed through cabinet, and then they engage a lot of stakeholders. But to tell you what, those stakeholders in our space, the other farmer groups and then the other input dealers, none of them have mentioned or have attested to being engaged in any way or the other before the Exemptions Act was passed. Yes. So it was purely a parliament process, and we were not really involved in the process. But as I did mention, the same Exemptions Act gives the Ministry of Finance to work directly with sector ministers, such as the Ministry of Agric, to grant industry-specific exemptions to them. And this is now what we are trying to take advantage of, because it hasn't been captured specifically in the Exemptions Act. Moving forward, we want to, we've even petitioned Parliament. We are seeking for a review of the Exemptions Act, so that agri-inputs will be categorically stated in the Exemptions Act.
Yeah, you mentioned,
so that we don't have to come back to apply for these exemptions.
What's your current capacity, Mr. Ansong? I just want to find out how you are performing with the exemptions and what your performance level is, if you can give us some figures.
Okay. So last year, we were doing well over 400 containers through the ports. This
yearly? That was for last year?
That's for last year.
Okay, yes.
This year, the volumes have gone up. Not because...
It means you are doing more than, you are anticipating to do more than 400 this year?
Certainly, because the cost has dropped, the cost of the inputs itself has dropped significantly.
On the global market?
On the global market. Because last year, for a particular active, we were buying at over $6. Now it has reduced to less than $2, you can imagine. So it gives you a bit of room to do more. So that is the main reason why the
volumes
have gone up. Assuming the price is at the 6 that we were buying last year, there is absolutely no way we can bring that kind of volume with the current exemption. No, the cost will be, it will be too much for you to pay at the port. So the volumes will come down. So it means that if prices, like I said, our prices goes up and comes down. If it gets up there, definitely we will have to reduce. If the exemptions have not been restored, we would have to reduce our volumes because we will not be able to pay. Sometimes one BL, we pay over 1 million CDs just on
one bill of lading.
One bill of lading. With, like,
and that calculates how many containers?
That's like with 10 containers there. We are paying this kind of
like
amount. So you can imagine if you are bringing 400, 500, 600 containers. That would be too expensive for us to handle. Yes. So this year we have benefited from the downward trend
in prices of global price reduction in price of inputs.
Yes.
Okay, and so that means that you would have been able to do more if the exemptions were still in place.
And farmers would have benefited a lot because as the price has gone down to all-time low, and farmers would have really gotten cheaper agrochemicals, especially this year. But because of these issues, they are not benefiting at all.
Why don't you present a paper to the Ministries of Finance and Agric and then intimate to them that this is the situation on the global market? The price of inputs have been slashed down drastically, and you think that if they are able to perhaps do something, you can bring in multiples of these inputs for Ghanaians. Maybe add some rebates
Yeah.
Some discounts.
So that is actually
or
our
supplies
next step.
to
That is
farmers.
actually our next
Is that
step.
something that's feasible?
Very feasible, because now we are trying to have an engagement with the Ministry of Finance, and that we can put up these figures like Mr. David is saying, and then we can make a case for them to see the merit of what we are asking for. So hopefully in the next few weeks we should be able to have that engagement with the Ministry of Finance to see how feasible that will be.
Okay. That's it. Pretty shortly we shall be going for some messages. But let me come to you, Rashad. Of your 23 members, your 23 member companies. Yes. What would you say their performance is at the moment? Does it cut across that, yes, the effect of the removal of the exemptions has negatively impacted them, and so they are not perhaps performing as they should?
So generally, as I said, a lot of about 80% or 90% of the members are multinationals. So these companies have that financial muscle.
Yes.
So they, at worst case scenario, they only pass on the cost to the farmer. And the few that are locals, they have felt the shocks. And it's not really affected the multinationals that much, but it's only going to be passed on to the farmer.
Right.
And when it's passed on to the farmer, the cost of acreages are going to go down, and then food prices are going up as we are witnessing right now. So, and it's a disincentive for local investors or our local brothers and sisters to also come up to venture into agri-input businesses, as we are saying.
Absolutely.
If the ground or there's a level playing field, and then there's a conducive business environment, it will call for more investors to come into that space and then invest more into agri-inputs.
Right. Okay, so there's a question here. It says, what are the contributing factors to the cost of the inputs declined on the international market? Can Mr. Ansong share that with us? My name is Ben in Tema.
Yes, a lot. We bring in agrochemicals, and a lot of these agrochemicals are also derivatives of crude oil.
Right.
So sometimes when you have the crude oil prices coming down, it also impacts on agrochemicals.
Yes.
And also sometimes the actives, when prices of the active ingredients also come down, we also get situations like this. But last year, for instance, I would say there was almost a cartel of some companies outside who tried their best to push up the prices. So last year, those companies made a lot of money out there. They pushed up the prices so high, and it got to a point that it was too much, and then demand started falling. And because of that, it also affected, once there was no demand, they had to bring down prices. So that also caused prices to come down. Yeah.
All right. So when you bring your inputs, how do you distribute it? Do you place it at a shop or a warehouse and get the farmers or those who require them, or you also retail?
So
to
companies
locals,
like us, we don't do retailing of the inputs. So we have distributors that we sell to. And their distributors also sell on to retailers.
Right.
So the chain is there. We give to distributors, and the distributors also sell to retailers. Retailers now to the farmers. Yes.
So it's a chain.
Yes, it's a chain. So we bring in and warehouse them, and we distribute to our distributors across the country.
Wow. All right, so that means that the distributors are solely dependent on you, and as and when you run out of supplies, it means they're also out of business.
Yes, certainly.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. So this is Eye on Port here on Metropolitan Television, and tonight we're taking a look at the agro input supply space and what the challenges they face when they import into the country. And in my intro, I told you that they have faced a lot of challenges, and they've tried rectifying some of these challenges. Some to no avail, but they are still pressing on, and we want to find out what the way forward for this particular industry is. This is Eye on Port, and it's on Metro TV. We're going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue the show. Please do stay with us.
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I come.
Shut up!
Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Raw 95.
Well up with Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for
Choose Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Raw 95. Goyle, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risks Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects, and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, welcome back. This is Eye on Port on Metropolitan Television. Tonight we are taking a look at the agro input supply space and some of the challenges they face when they are importing and what the way forward would be. My guest in the studio is Mr. Rashad Kadri, who is the Programs Manager for Crop Life Ghana, and indeed Mr. David Owari-Anson, who is Managing Director, Rainbow Agro-Sciences Limited. They're the two gentlemen we're having a discussion with tonight. This message says, good afternoon. Your panelists are trying their best to do business in Ghana. All those costs at the port is automatically transferred to the final consumer. Now, we should expect the prices of foodstuffs to increase next year since the prices of farm inputs are very, very high this year. No government subsidies this year. Let us all prepare for that. Richard in Fumbisi, he sent in this one. Thank you very much, Richard. This one says, please tell Mr. Ansong that I am taking a lot of notes from his submissions. Also ask him what steps the agrochemical importers are taking to stop government use of benchmark prices for duty computation. This one is from Abraham in Spintex. Do you have a response for Abraham?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that we are, we are using the appeals process to try and get the GRA to accept the values that we bring in. But yes. I know it's been a challenge. You submit, but it's difficult for you to get. Even if they grant it to you, they will just remove some small cents,
right?
Just to say, okay, we've done something,
right?
Something
to represent something.
Something to represent something.
All right. Okay. So, yes, I've been told by the production team that we can activate the phone lines for you to call in now. The number to dial is 020-552-8353. 020-552-8353. You can call in. That's the number right there on your screen. You can call in and contribute to the discussion. Now, this one says, government policy of removal of exemptions not well targeted. How do you remove exemptions on agricultural inputs under the guise of revenue maximization? Some individuals or institutions who do not deserve the exemptions are rather considered, for instance, under the government flagship programs. I think Ghana has challenges when it comes to policy implementations, which in the long run affects the poor. This one is from Eric. Thank you very much, Eric. You didn't tell us where you sent in the message from, but your point is well noted. Thank you very much indeed. This one says, good evening, sir. Please, can the agro input suppliers team up with Apostle Kojosafu for him to produce more of his chemicals for Ghanaians? Thank you. Is that something you're considering?
The industry, right, is very broad, and the challenges that farmers face are also very wide. We have issues about fungal infestation, insects, and then the weeds. And even when it comes to weeds, they are selective. We plant different crops, and you need to bring a chemical that will select that crop and kill the weeds. So it's not just a simple matter like that. So it's a lot of research goes into this for chemicals, new molecules to be developed. So yes, we can do a bit of what he does, the inorganic organic stuff.
Yes.
But if you want to feed millions of people, sometimes the organic pesticides,
wouldn't work. All right. This one says the farmers are suffering all because of herbicides prices. So with this, we have to reduce our farm size. But with the help of Rainbow Agro-Sciences, we the farmers can farm now. All right, there's no name attached to this one. So that's one particular farmer reposing some confidence in your company. This one says, please, we want to know if agri-input importers who operate in other African countries as well as Ghana, how they are faring. Okay, they want to know how agro-input, suppliers in other African countries are faring. Do you have any idea how your counterparts in other countries are faring?
For them, they really don't have this problem that we are facing right now, especially with the prices issues. And this is also going to, like I mentioned, the issue of counterfeiting.
Yes.
If this is not addressed, we are going to a lot of farmers will go out there to the neighboring countries, Togo, Burkina, Cote d'Ivoire, and bring in products that are
Counterfeit. Yes.
and unsuspecting to a lot of farmers.
Yes.
So we're trying to curb these issues.
Tell us about the counterfeit.
Yes, so
thing
the
in your
counterfeit
space,
has been one of the major challenges
counterfeit
to
products.
yes, as an industry. So we have what we call counterfeits and illegal pesticides or fertilizers. Now, a counterfeit is when you bring in a product or you manufacture a product and make it look like the original. But the illegal ones, they could be genuine, but they are not registered for use for in-country. For instance, the EPA law states that for any product to be used in Ghana, crop protection product to be used in Ghana, one, you should look at the labeling. It should be in your official language.
Right.
For instance, here our official language is English.
Yes.
So if you see any product out there that has a label in a different language, Chinese, French, it could be genuine, but it's not accepted for use in the country, because as CropLife, we also pride ourselves in stewardship. Stewardship as in the safe and responsible use of these pesticides and fertilizers, where we can maximize its benefits and minimize the risk. And in applying these pesticides and fertilizers, you need to be able to, you have to be trained by the authorities, EPA, PPRSD, and then CropLife. We also do trainings as well, so that you can be able to read the label and understand what the application directives are before you can be able to apply these products.
Right.
And if it is in a language that is other than English, I'm not sure how they are going to be able to read the directives. And application, they are going to get everything wrong. So counterfeiting, the issue of counterfeiting has been a big challenge, and we've been working closely with Environmental Protection Agency in that regard. We have, the missing link has been the prosecution. Usually when people are being arrested for possessing counterfeit or illegal crop protection products, there hasn't been a lot of prosecutions in that regard. Recently, earlier in June, we collaborated with the Environmental Protection Agency to train some lawyers from the Attorney General's Department, the Department of Public Prosecution, on pesticide laws and regulations in Ghana, so that they can position themselves very well to be able to administer deterrent penal measures to culprits who are caught up selling these counterfeit and illegal pesticides in Ghana. So with the EPA and the PPRSD, that's the Plant Protection and Regulatory Service Department of Ministry of Food and Agriculture, we are collaborating with them. And
so let's go to hold it there. Don't forget where you are living off, so that we'll pick Eric and come back. Good evening, sir. Hello, Eric. Good evening. Hello, Eric. Well, I think we don't have Eric. Maybe we're having challenges with this line. Yes.
So as I was saying, we are collaborating effectively with these institutions, EP and then PPRSD, to combat the issue of counterfeit and illegal pesticides, which is also a challenge in our system. And as I did mention earlier, if these issues, if cost of inputs goes up, cost of pesticides, fertilizers go up, the easiest way farmers would take is to go to the neighboring countries to buy these same products or even unsuspecting products at a relatively cheaper prices. And it's not going to even have not just the cost, but the safe and the risk to the environment, the human health, and to the crops is what we are looking at.
All right, I understand we have Derek once again on the line. Good evening.
Good evening, please.
Hello.
Good evening.
Yes, can you speak up a bit, please?
Yeah, good evening. I want to contribute.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Let me thank the MD for Rainbow Agrosciences for his submission.
Hello, Derek.
Yes, I want to thank the MD for Rainbow Agroscience for his submission.
Yes.
Yes, I think their company is doing very well with regards to, they have a program called Rainbow Crop Clinic. And this program is helping educate farmers on the safe use of this pesticide.
Okay.
Yeah, so kudos to him for that. And my question is, How, when government or the internal revenue, the GRA, review those tariffs, how positive is it going to affect their cost and also influence the prices of the product on the market?
Right. Did you get him?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Eric. They would respond to your question.
Right. So I think he wants to know the impact of
if GRA eventually decides to yield to your request,
yes,
or bring it on board the exemption.
Yeah, that is quite straightforward. It's the items that I listed: the import duty, special import levy, processing fee, IRS deposit. That sums up to 10%.
Yes.
So it means automatically 10% of your CIF is gone. You save it. So let's maybe to be a bit real for them, if the value of your goods is like $100,000,
yes,
that 10% is 10,000.
Yes.
So 10,000 times current exchange rate.
Yeah.
$10,000 times current exchange rate is over 100 and something thousand. So that is a big amount of money that you save, and that reduces the cost, which we will pass on to the end user, the farmer. Yes.
Okay. All right. So you can also call in. Remember, the number is right there on your screen: 02055283353. You can call in and contribute to the discussion. Now, you had Rashad on the issue of counterfeits and how people are likely, if things get worse, to patronize neighboring countries and purchase their products and come in at relatively cheaper prices. I want to find out from you. You are one of the people that bring in some of these products, these inputs. How do the operations of these counterfeit people, affect your operations?
Because of the high prices now, a lot of farmers, because they are poor, will always want to buy what is cheap.
Yeah.
And the counterfeiting is so real that I think 2 years ago, our company had issue like this. There was somebody in Swedro who was mixing our product with certain chemicals and bottling it in Swedro and selling it at a cheap price. And then the farmers will use, and the thing will not work.
Yeah.
And then because he's using our label,
yes,
you now call.
They came attacking you.
And say, hey, your product, I've used your product, it's not working. Then we say, how can this be true? Then we would take our original product, go there, spray, and the thing works.
It works, yeah.
So then you ask yourself, where did
you buy? Yeah.
And the thing went on for a while until, by God's grace, a farmer called. He said, look, I know Rainbow product.
Yes.
What I have bought, it looks like, but I know this is not.
Yes.
And then he sent me a video of how the packaging has been done and all that. And I saw that, no.
It was different.
So we investigated, and then we traced back, and then we identified the person who was doing that.
Did you arrest the person?
Certainly we did.
Has the person been prosecuted?
The prosecution of these things is, like he mentioned about the prosecution issue, is also
another issue.
Altogether. But I think CropLife is seriously working on it. That's why he said we are training the Attorney General Department to be able to prosecute such
these cases. Okay.
Yes.
Wow. I see. Okay, so let's take a look at the effects of all this on food security in our country.
Okay, thank you. In the beginning, Mr. David mentioned about the price inflation, consumer price inflation, which is hovering over 50%.
Yes.
I also did mention that the World Bank just last week mentioned that Ghana was among the top 10 countries with a higher consumer price inflation. So these are all effects of the high cost of inputs.
Right.
Yes. So what is going to happen is that if these exemptions are not granted and input prices keep soaring, farmers are going to reduce their acreages because how many of them can be able to take care of all these costs? And when they reduce their acreages, productivity definitely is going to go down. Farmers' incomes will also go down.
Absolutely.
Then our food prices in the markets are also going to go up, which is going to come back to you and I. So it has a trickling down effect to every single Ghanaian. And I think we all need to stand up to this and then address government so that these exemptions can be granted, and then for input prices to come down, and for us to attain the food security and self-sufficiency that we've all been talking about.
All right, so let me come to Mr. Ansong. I know you've done business in the port for quite some time now. You said you have been in existence for 10 years.
Yes.
A decade,
myself, I've been in the industry for like 20 years.
20 years. All right, okay. But you're talking about Agro-Sciences Limited.
For Rainbow 10
Rainbow
years,
Agro-Sciences Limited. Okay, sure. All right, and you've done business in the port. You've been there. You've done a lot of stuff. Tell me your impression about operations in the port and your encounter with.
Yes. I will say that the Tema port is one of the, I would say it's an efficient port.
Okay. Hold it. Well, okay. You continue. But I understand we have a caller. Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
I'm Richard from Fumbisi.
Can you speak up a bit for us, please?
Yeah, I'm calling from Fumbisi, Richard.
Fumbisi?
Yes, please.
You sent a message?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
It's an interesting topic.
Thank you.
Evening. Thanks to your panelists.
Thank you.
My other concern has to do with the invoices they present to GRA and they reject. And when you look at it, actually, most of the farm inputs have come down as compared to the beginning of the year. So if GRA is now rejecting what the suppliers are presenting to them and having that old price, because that time actually the prices were not easy. Despite government subsidy, the prices were as higher than more than what we have to now, currently as I'm speaking to you. Because we're buying condemn around 60 cities. Now condemn is around 54 cities. So that tells you that really there's a decrease in the price of most of the farm inputs. Despite there's no government subsidy. So if DRA is doing that, then at the end of the day, the suppliers will push the prices into the farmers. And then they will also push it into the final consumer. A maize today in Fumbisi. I was just told today that it's around 1,200 cedis. One bag of maize, that is the 5 kilograms. And that is not good. Which means next year, and we're kind of food price increase as a result of our inflation in the country. Next year, which means we should be ready to pay more because there's no government subsidy at all. People have reduced their farm sizes, fine, to be able to buy the fertilizer and farm. But next year, we'll push everything into the consumer. And that will tell you that we should brace we should just be prepared to face it next year. That as for food inflation there is going to increase per boss.
Right. Okay. Richard, thank you very much indeed for your call. He called all the way from the Upper East region. We are grateful to you for that call. Yes, you were...
Yes, I was saying that the Tema port, I would have to give thumbs up to GPHA.
Right.
I think the port is very efficient. With my experience, once all things being equal, you should be able to get your containers out in 2 or 3 days.
Right.
Yes, and I think it's very good compared to other ports in the sub-region.
Okay.
I think Tema port is quite efficient.
Wow.
It's just maybe for some of the terminals that we have a bit of challenge with.
I don't want you to mention
names.
names.
No, I will not. I will not.
Yes.
But just for GPHA to also look at the other
terminals operating.
Operating.
GPHA is a landlord, so they have responsibility.
So that they don't delay.
Right.
They are kind of causing the delay.
Right.
If you have it in MPS, 2 or 3 days you're off. You are off.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think they are doing well. The paperless system is working, and they just need to improve on some few issues. Yeah.
All right. Great. Awesome. Thank you very much indeed. Rashad. Yeah. So some recommendations you'd want to make. I know you've done this over and over again.
Yeah.
But if you have any recommendations to make to the powers that be, as the need for them to incline their ear to your request and see what they can do to ameliorate the challenges that confront you.
Sure. We are all aware the role agriculture plays in our economy.
Okay, let's take our last caller and then
Sure.
we come to you. Dominic Naba from Tamale. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Great. Good to have you.
Thank you so much. I want to contribute to the program.
Please go ahead.
Yes, it is a wonderful program,
Okay,
well
sir.
educative to Ghanaians.
Thank you very much.
Yes, to talk about the inflation, it's a serious canker to the nation. It is one of the causes of higher prices in Ghana. And when you look around it, it seems we don't have leaders in this country. It is a serious problem, not only to the farmers, but to the whole nation. Look, I sympathize so much to the farming community in Ghana here. I am someone who deals in the spare parts. And for about 2 months ago, I've cleared a container at the Tema port. And it was very, very difficult for me because that was a 40-footer container.
Right.
The import duty alone was about 128,000 Ghana cedis.
178.
128,000 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
Yes. Aside other payment I have to make, shipping lines, what and what. And I have, at the end of the day, have to add it back to my prices to be able to come out with my selling prices, okay? And
What is it that you brought in?
Yeah, it was ties.
Ties,
that's
okay.
the farm implements, the tractor ties.
Okay.
There were oils, the engine oils, brake fluid, and a lot.
Right, okay.
So they were assorted goods that were packed in the 20-footer container.
Right.
So if you look around it, at the end of the day, I have to also sell and make profit because I'm a businessman. There is no business person that want to sell at a loss or run the business at a loss.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, the final consumer has to bear the consequences.
Yeah.
So most of the times, if you look at all this surrounding the nation, and someone can pack dollars in his room, her room,
yes,
and there are so many leakages going around in this country, and we cannot patch it up. It's a serious thing.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed, Dominic. Point well made. Point well made. Thank you very much indeed. We are grateful to you. You happen to be our last caller. Thank you very much, Rashad. So just wrap us up. Tell us some recommendations you'd like to make to government as to the need for them to incline their ear to you and perhaps yield to your request of restoring the exemptions that you were enjoying that made your operations quite
as I was saying, to restructure the tax Ghana's tax exemption regime is absolutely a good idea. Because there are a lot of loopholes.
I thought you were going to say it's non-negotiable.
It's a good idea to, restructure our exemptions regime, and we allowed government for that. Because if you look at the whole exemptions regime, the loopholes were too many.
Yeah.
And government needed to also rake in some revenue by blocking and some loopholes to straighten up the regime.
Right.
But we know the role agriculture plays in our economy. Agriculture is so sensitive, just like health, education. These sectors shouldn't be compromised when it comes to taxes. And so we continue to plead to government to take a second look at the Tax Exemptions Act and include agriculture inputs specifically and categorically as part of the exemptions so that we don't have to come back here the next year and the years
discussing the same issues.
To discuss the same old issues, knowing what the contribution agriculture has played in the economy of Ghana.
Right, great. Mr. Ansong, 30 seconds, if you can, maybe your last words, if you have any.
Well, what I would say is just to add on to what Rashad said, that food security is a national security issue. And the government should at least help our poor farmers, to be able to make some livelihood.
Absolutely.
To improve their standard of living. And all that. So it's just an appeal to government to try and help our farmers so that we will be able to have the food security that all of us are yearning for.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. David Owari Ansong is Managing Director, Rainbow Agro-Sciences Limited, and indeed Mr. Kadri Rashad, Programs Manager, CropLife Ghana. We've been discussing the challenges that importers of agro inputs face in our country and what the way forward is. They've given you all the statistics, all that you need to know. They painted a picture, vivid picture of what the situation looks like and why government must heed to their demand of restoring the exemptions that they were enjoying so that we can have some food security in the country and have our farmers, increase their farm sizes and all that. And so that's how we draw the curtain on tonight's edition of Eye on Port here on Metropolitan Television. We say big thanks to our sponsors, Ghana Revenue Authority, GWEL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, MPS, and Phoenix Insurance. Remember, the show is powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. And the abridged version will be aired on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on Ghana Television. My name is Kennedy Mona. We entreat you to keep watching the rest of our programs here on Metro TV. And God willing, next week we shall bounce back, same time, with Eye on Port. Have a super week ahead and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Metro TV. Insightful.